welcome to center stage, Ms. Caroline Miller, evaluating the effects of the Jing Method in adults with asthma. So maybe we all just want to take a really nice deep breath in and breath out. And
you guys have just got to make sure it's through the nose, though, please.
oh yes, yes, oh yes, through the nose. Great.
So hi, Meg, thank you for the introduction. So I'm Caroline, and I chose asthma. Not that I'm an asthmatic, but as I'm a human, so very interested in breathing. But also as a yogi, I teach pranayama, so it's just an area of real interest for me. So I have chosen asthma in adults. And I'll go to the results first. So they showed that the Jing method was effective in increasing asthma control and also increasing peak expiratory flow. Let me just move on. So just briefly, I'll I think most people know or have heard of asthma. So it is a chronic inflammatory airway disease. And it typically, there's two aspects of it. So there's thickening of the trachea, the main tube that goes into the lungs. And also there's a hyper-responsiveness to the soft tissue of the trachea. As you can see on the screen, there are 5 common respiratory symptoms of coughing, wheezing, chest tightness, shortness of breath, and a low expiratory limitation. It's really prolific worldwide. There's 300 million people, and in the UK alone, there's 12% of the population. And I'm sure that there are other people that aren't actually diagnosed, but maybe manage it, but perhaps can't run because they can't breathe properly. You know, so that number, that percentage is bound to be higher. So I did my study over 14 weeks, 7-week control period, and I used 2 objective measures. The first one that was recorded, the participants recorded at the end of each week over the whole 14 weeks, was the asthma control test. And it's a really quite simple 5 questions, and it's about monitoring the control of asthma. 25 points is kind of the maximum number, and that shows like really good asthma control. And then at the end of the last 2 weeks of the control period and the intervention period, they also monitored their peak expiratory flow using one of these. So it's they did it in the morning and in the evening. So that was the measure. I'm just tempted to, I've got a really low peak expiratory flow, but I'm not asthmatic, but it's this. But, oh, it's higher today. I would have thought it would have been lower because of presenting. And I did a mixed methodology.
Self-testing while you're doing your presentation, so like living in the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I chose to do mixed methodology. So I did 3 hands-on treatments using the Jing Method rib, thorax, and abdomen protocol. And then I had 3 pre-recorded self-care that was given every other week. And they were encouraged to do the self-care daily. The average, though, was 3 times a week across the board. And I actually thought I was going to be inundated with participants wanting to join because of the number is so high in the world and in the UK, so which is why I did mixed methodology. But actually I got low response. So that might have been me using social media or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, I had 7 females. They all averaged about 51 years. They had differing asthma types. I would have preferred one asthma type. But I had such a kind of a low response that I actually just needed like as many people as possible. So looking forward, just to have, there are so many different types of asthma, actually just to have one asthma type would be a really positive thing to do if this was to be replicated, which I hope it will be. My results were positive. They weren't as high as I was hoping for, but I'm going to explain to you later why that is, or one rationale for it anyway. But it still went up. So this is the asthma control test. This is the five questionnaire. So you can see that there's an increase from the control period to the intervention. This is an average across the 7 participants. And this is the peak expiratory flow. So again, an increase, which is, you know, all great. So the reason, and I hadn't thought about it actually, I kind of did my study from the hands-on intervention part after the October half term because I was going on holiday. So I hadn't really thought about it, but obviously hindsight and reflection. In winter, there's high respiratory viral infection, and it really, really affects asthmatics. So it exacerbates asthma symptoms. And my study was November through to December, and this is one of the peak times where RVIs are prevalent. So it kind of led me to like, well, why is this? Why are RVIs more prevalent? And I'm really interested in breathing, like I said, and nasal breathing. And really interestingly, when the temperature drops by 4.4 degrees, it kills 50%. That temperature drop kills 50% of the immune cells within the nose. So I really saw this in my study. So actually things like wearing which is a positive that's come from COVID, wearing a mask in wintertime or a snood. There are such things. I did buy this. We're really aiming to keep the nose warm. And there are such things on Etsy as nose warmers in lots of different animal crocheted shapes that you can go and purchase if you want. So that was really interesting for me. So I am going to keep my nose warm. So I wanted to highlight this case study because 4 out of 7 of my participants had a respiratory viral infection, and it really affected their outcomes. But this one case study didn't have an RVI, and her results were just incredible. So this is her PEF. So it went up significantly, especially in the evening. And also her ACT score went from an average of 18 and it went up to 23. So 25 is being like the highest kind of marker where it's your asthma is really, really controlled. So that was just great. I just wanted to share kind of, you know, one of the 7 that didn't have an RVI, and this was her outcome. And this is, you can, the next screen is her kind of bit of a testimonial from her that you can read. Mm-hmm. So really, really positive. And this one participant also went to see the asthma nurse, and the asthma nurse was she was utterly blown away because her measures were so dramatically different in comparison to her last kind of appointment with her. So, and this one client now, she doesn't have asthma. This is how she sees herself. And has no need to use asthma medication. So all positive. So that's my presentation, and I'll happily answer questions.
Well done. Very good, everybody. Wow.
Great, Caroline. I wish you'd worn your nose warmer throughout.
We have to also say to those watching, Caroline was very good and very generous with all of us during this process. We all wanted to participate, but then we were all a bit sassy. So, but yeah, fantastic and so important and really interesting about feeling like you're going to be inundated, and then where are all the people with this very important, condition that people are really suffering from?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, questions. Somebody has a question. I've seen lots of it.
Well, I would like to, well, I don't know whether it's so much a question, but as someone with asthma,
Or not.
because you said it's true that there is more viral infections through the winter. However, as you had different types of asthma, I think if you do this, for example, along spring, or most commonly around May, June, you will have different issue with allergies. Because, for example, my asthma is more like triggered by allergies and stuff. So then if you have pollens, especially grass pollens, very common for asthmatics, that they would affect them. So then you would have this issue. So to be fair, finding a really good time of the year to do this study might be very difficult unless, as you said, you would have one type of asthma.
Yeah, and you're absolutely right. So yeah, any time of year there's going to be, like you said, different environmental influences, and also internal influences, like from the home. Then do you kind of go, well, I only want participants without animals, and I mean, it's pretty complicated, but definitely one type of asthma would, whether it be a particular pollen related or exercise induced, it would have been so much better. But I just needed these 7 people.
I know, just saying that you could always have issues with that, unfortunately, like either you got a viral infection or someone going down because the pollens are up in the air, the air is worse, or
Absolutely.
This would unfortunately always be an issue. But it's very interesting. So when you were doing you were using the Jing method, but did you also give them some kind of a breathing exercises, as you were saying?
Yeah, so I did. So in their self-care, it was, and I probably should have said this in the presentation, so thank you. I did kind of mobility, so movement for mobility, really focused on kind of opening the ribs, kind of self-massage using a soft massage ball as well to stimulate the sternal tissue, side rib tissue, and back tissue. And then breathing techniques, very, very simple breathing techniques, just ensuring that it was through the nose only, very light, simple, no breath holding. And again, so even if it was like to try and get a deeper breath, it was still not like a full volume breath. It was still very gentle. So following kind of more the Buteyko method, but much more simply.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
And Suzanne, did you have a question?
I think mine was similar to Charlie's, but basically around would you do it at a different time of the year, so we
And Caroline, anything you would do differently, or anything? So you did say in your presentation, I hope somebody continues this. So what would you say to anybody who wants to continue?
Get more people.
Get more people
do a better promotion job than I did. So yeah, obviously get more people, and going back to that one type of asthma. So that your asthma diagnoses, but one type. I think that would be really, really good. And probably, to do Jing credit, possibly 6 sessions of hands-on. My choice was really more about, like time and stopping my own clinic practice. But then saying that, I know that they benefited from the pre-recorded stuff. So again, that whole holistic package of mobility, breathing, relaxation, self-massage, all great stuff, all warranted. and
Yeah.
stuff that they can take off of the couch, which is what I really like about the Jing method.
Fantastic. Well done. And please get in touch with the great author there if you have any further questions and want to dive in a bit deeper. Really, really appreciated that.